Wait until you hear what happened when Kate Middleton made this unannounced visit. It was 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday night in November. The corridors of Great Ormond Street Hospital were dimly lit, with only the soft hum of medical equipment breaking the silence. But something was different tonight. A figure in a simple navy coat, hood pulled up, was walking these halls, someone who definitely wasn't supposed to be there. Kate Middleton had slipped past security, past the night staff, past everyone. But why? What could possibly drive the Princess of Wales to sneak into a children's hospital in the middle of the night? The answer started 3 days earlier. Kate had been reviewing her upcoming royal engagements when her private secretary mentioned a letter. Not just any letter. This one had been marked urgent personal, and somehow made its way directly to her desk, bypassing all the usual protocols. The handwriting was shaky, clearly from a child. Dear Princess Kate, my name is Emma. I'm 8 years old and I'm really sick. The doctors say I might not get better. I know you're really busy being a princess, but could you maybe visit? I don't want my mom and dad to know I wrote this because they're already so sad. I just want to meet a real princess before, well, you know. Room 347, Great Ormond Street Hospital. Please don't tell anyone I asked. Kate stared at that letter for 20 minutes straight. Something about Emma's words, the careful way she protected her parents' feelings, the quiet acceptance in her tone, it hit different. This wasn't a publicity opportunity or a scheduled engagement. This was a child who needed something only she could give. But here's where it gets complicated. Royal protocol strictly forbids unscheduled hospital visits. The security risks, the media attention, the liability issues, it's a nightmare for everyone involved. Kate's team would never approve it. The hospital would panic. The press would have a field day. So Kate made a decision that shocked even herself. She was going to break every rule in the book. She spent 2 days planning. She studied the hospital layout online, memorized shift changes, even called in a favor from a friend who worked in pediatric nursing. She needed to get to room 347 without anyone knowing she was there, which brings us back to that Tuesday night at 2:47 a.m. Kate's heart was pounding as she navigated the maze of corridors. She'd chosen this time specifically, skeleton crew, minimal security, most patients asleep. Her simple disguise and confident walk had gotten her this far, but now came the real test. Room 345. But as she approached the door, she heard something that made her freeze completely. Singing. A small, fragile voice was singing softly in the darkness. But it wasn't just any song. It was God Save the King, the British national anthem. This tiny, sick child was singing the anthem at 3 a.m. in an empty hospital room. Kate's eyes filled with tears instantly. But that wasn't even the part that stunned her most. She heard another voice join in, then another, and another. As Emma sang, other children in nearby rooms, kids who should have been sleeping, kids fighting their own battles with illness, they were all quietly singing along. Room by room, this impromptu chorus of brave little voices was spreading down the hallway. Kate stood there, completely frozen, listening to this moment of pure innocent patriotism happening in the darkness. These children, facing the biggest challenges of their young lives, were finding comfort in something bigger than themselves. But then, Emma's voice started to fade. The song was ending, and Kate realized she had a choice. She could turn around, leave quietly, and nobody would ever know she'd been there. Or she could knock on that door and give this little girl exactly what she'd asked for. Kate knocked. "Come in," came the small voice. Kate stepped into the room and slowly pulled down her hood. Emma's eyes went wider than dinner plates. "Oh my goodness," Emma whispered. "You actually came." What happened next lasted only 47 minutes, but it changed both of their lives forever. Kate sat on the edge of Emma's bed, and they talked about everything. Favorite colors, school, Emma's drawings taped to the wall, her stuffed elephant named Peanuts. Kate told her about her own children, about the funny things they say, about how being a mom is her favorite job even more than being a princess. But here's what made this visit truly extraordinary. Emma revealed that she'd been organizing these midnight sing-alongs for weeks. Every night at 3 a.m. she'd start singing, and other kids would join in. It was her way of making everyone feel less alone, less scared. This 8-year-old girl fighting for her life was spending her energy trying to comfort other children. "I figured if I'm going to be awake anyway because of the medicine," Emma explained, "I might as well do something nice for my friends." Kate was speechless. Here was this incredibly sick child who had turned her suffering into service, her pain into purpose. That's when Kate made another decision that broke all the rules. She pulled out her phone and started recording. Not for social media, not for publicity, for Emma's parents. She recorded Emma singing, recorded their conversation, recorded this moment of pure joy when their daughter forgot about being sick and just felt like a normal kid hanging out with her friend. As the sun started to rise, Kate knew she had to leave. But before she went, Emma grabbed her hand. "Princess Kate," she said, "can I tell you a secret?" Kate nodded. "I didn't think you'd really come, but I hoped you would. And now I know that hope is real." Kate hugged this brave little girl and promised to write back to her letter properly, through official channels this time. But that's not where the story ends. 3 weeks later, the hospital received an anonymous donation of £2.3 million specifically for the pediatric wing. The donor's only request? That the children's recreation room be renamed Emma's Hope Room. Emma never found out about the donation, but she didn't need to, because what she got was something even more valuable, the knowledge that she mattered enough for someone to break every rule just to see her smile. Kate never spoke publicly about this visit. It never appeared in any royal calendar or press release. But if you look closely at her public engagements after that night, you'll notice something different. Every time she visits a children's hospital now, she makes sure to spend extra time with the kids who are singing, who are trying to cheer up others despite their own struggles. And sometimes, late at night in pediatric wards across the country, you can still hear children singing together in the darkness, not because they're sad, but because they learned from an 8-year-old girl named Emma that hope is something you can share. The most powerful acts of kindness aren't the ones that make headlines. They're the ones that happen at 3 a.m. when nobody's watching, when someone chooses to break the rules not for attention but for love. Emma recovered, by the way. She's 11 now and still writes letters to Kate, through proper channels this time, and sometimes, just sometimes, she still organizes those midnight sing-alongs, because she learned something that night too. Sometimes the most important thing a princess can do is simply show up. What act of unexpected kindness has changed your life? Let me know in the comments below.